This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Rob Rotter, Chairman of the Iowa 911 Communications Council. Welcome to our meeting this morning. We will forgo the guest introduction since we have people spread all over, but if we could, Kara, could you give us a roll call, please?
Sure. Chris Jasper is excused. He said Shanna Krogmeyer was going to be on. Shanna, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
Alternate. Lawrence Hartpen? George Griffith? Mike Bryant?
Here.
Mark Murphy? Yeah, doing some good so far. Jeff Anderson? Richard Pierce?
Here.
Rob Dennert?
Rob is at my office, Kara, in training, so I don't think he's going to be jumping on the call today.
Okay. How about his alternate? Is Paul Andorf on? Jack D'Angelo?
Here.
Taylor Kiesel? Let's go back up and try again, because otherwise we're not going to have a quorum. Lawrence Hartpen? George Griffith? Mark Murphy? Jeff Anderson? Oh boy. It's so short.
Okay.
You hear from any of these people? I just heard from.
I didn't hear from anyone. I don't see any of those names on the webinar. That just didn't get off mute. We also don't have any formal new business.
Okay. Okay.
But I just asked Rob to call his alternate, so if you don't have a quorum, there should be one soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Here's Rob.
And Jeff just.
Oh, Jeff just got on. Okay.
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 All right. Sounds like we have a
We're better. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Could I get a motion to approve today's agenda? Here's the. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Again, same sign. Motion carries. And can I get a motion to approve the April 14th, 2022 minutes? Here's a big motion. All right. Have a second?
I'll second.
Mark Murphy, second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Again, same sign. Motion carries. Blake, do we have a report?
We do. My first bullet on my slide is actually the program financial, so I'll just jump right into that. I'm displaying it on the webinar for those virtual, and for those in the room here, there was handouts at the table as you came in, but you can also just obviously look at the screen. So actually I want to start here. Fairly normal PSAP payments. One thing to point out, and there's an asterisk by Warren County, they still have not submitted their PSAP expenditure form from the previous reporting cycle. So the amount listed there, the $51,000, that's the full amount. We did withhold the 35% as required by code. Sent them a certified letter letting them know what was going on and why. So we hold that 35% kind of in reserve for up to a year until they submit their form. Once that form is submitted, we release the payments that we've withheld. So again, that can be up to 4 quarterly payments that we withhold that 35%. If they don't end up remitting their form in that kind of year of get out of jail free time frame, it stays in the operating surplus. So I just wanted to point that out to everyone. The full amount is listed there in anticipation that they'll eventually submit that form. Looking at the expenditure report, a couple things I would like to highlight. If you look at these really close, you might notice this change with the wireless service providers. That's the wireless cost recovery. If you look in Iowa Code 34A, that kind of provision is set to sunset in 2026. Previously, I've always listed the carriers involved that submit to us for cost recovery. And that's kind of dwindled down over the years, and actually this is the first quarter where only one carrier has submitted for cost recovery. The rest do not. I can no longer list the name of the carrier that does submit because it's a proprietary kind of thing. When you look in code, it's actually confidential. So I can only list the amount that was sent to us for cost recovery. I can no longer list the carrier who does that. So just kind of an interesting little quirk of this quarter's report. Continuing on down, you can see that $322,000 was transferred into the operating surplus. That's kind of the front end of how the surcharge works. One thing that I kind of look at on a quarterly basis, obviously see how much we're transferring into the operating surplus, but then also see how much we're spending in expenditures, specifically in the virtual consolidation, the non-recurring part that's kind of down below and in the middle there of that operating surplus. So you can see out of the non-recurring virtual consolidation, we actually spent more than we kind of banked in the operating surplus. So I went back and 2 out of the 3 quarters this year, that's been the case. Something to keep an eye on. However, that's also the reason why when we do our end of year forecasting, we held a little bit of that in reserve. It's the obligated stuff that we know is coming out of C-Tron. So we know about that, and that's why, again, when we do the end of year calculations on how much we're going to pass through, we make sure we have enough to cover our expenditures and our known obligations. So again, something to keep an eye on, not necessarily the end of the world, but I did want to highlight that. Another thing that I wanted to point out, remember, this is the quarter from January through March. And as I was looking at this prior to the meeting, I was thinking I had built in a mistake here, but no, it's just actually just been that long. The consolidation grant that we paid, the $268,000 there, we actually did that back in January. If you remember, Oline folded into Fayette County. So this report still encompasses that payment that we made in January. The last thing, or actually 2 more things to highlight. Just a reminder, one of the items here in that surplus summary that this quarter was $20,295,000 is PSAP moves. Every time a PSAP moves, we expend funds to move the EZNet connection for that PSAP as well. So that's listed there. That comes out of the operating surplus. So just something to keep in mind, and if you've ever wondered kind of what that is. The final thing that I'll point out is on the National 911 grant. That performance period ended March 31st. We're in the process of submitting our final voucher, which is about $1 million. So again, when you factor in some of the surplus stuff and how much we're spending on shared services, that's again something that we kind of baked into this whole recipe on slowly spending down the operating surplus, but doing it in a kind of controlled fashion. So that's National 911 grants is revenue that we've known about and have counted on that kind of go towards that project. So that will be closed out here in the next, hopefully this month. There's a question in there about landline cost recovery. That is not part of 34A at all. It's just wireless cost recovery that's listed in 34A. Any questions on the financials? All right. Going with the rest of my report, I already talked about Warren County still being outstanding on their expenditure collection form. Plymouth County still needs to submit their service board membership form. That one doesn't necessarily have a financial penalty per se, but it is part of having a current 911 service plan. One thing that I kind of want to socialize and give some input on, there are companies that do circuit audits. And this kind of gets to one of Brenda's comments in the chat here as well. The state of Minnesota did this a couple of years ago. Clayton County just went through this and actually saved $50,000 a year. This is kind of you can kind of see it as a half step or a measure to make sure that PSAPs are can disconnect services and circuits that are no longer needed and identify what is currently active. So a couple different thoughts on how we could approach this, and I think I want to get pricing for both models, just because I have no idea what such a thing costs. One being, we do the procurement, and PSAPs that are interested can purchase off of it, so basically PSAP funding, but getting that economies of scale, state power of purchasing type of pricing. The other one is asking for what would it cost to do a statewide project. Just because again, I have no idea, but this would be a company that would work with all the PSAPs or the PSAPs that are interested, work with the telephone companies, and work to eliminate those unnecessary circuit and eventually circuit costs. It's something that, you know, I think we would love to do at the program level, but we don't have the proverbial bandwidth, the technical expertise to do such a thing. So I know there's at least 2 companies that do that. Yeah, I think Clayton County just chimed in and they kind of reiterated what I said, $50,000 a year. So that comes at a substantial saving for just legacy circuits that are no longer needed. So I would definitely take any input. I kind of have the thumbs up from the department to go forward with that. But if there's any other ideas, I would certainly take those and work those into the RFP.
Hey, Blake. I'm sorry I missed last month's meeting, but I see there's a lot of information here in regard to Windstream. You know, a lot of this billing is probably legacy from the old GTE days. I was a program manager back then for 911, and that probably shifted over to Iowa Telecom and then into Windstream. So it's probably a lot of legacy billing. Yeah, the PSAPs need to really look at their circuits, but I just want to offer from my perspective, from a telco perspective, you know, we went through your exercise that you and Dave Duncan had put together last year, and it looks like it'd be pretty, you know, simplified. I don't know that we got very far with that, with everybody, telcos and the PSAPs, and I understand the issue, but I just want to offer any assistance if it's a committee. Yeah, there's consultants that do audits for the PSAPs and work with the telcos, but I'm fairly familiar with billing, so I just offer my assistance if that's worth anything.
Yep. Thank you, Jack. There's a lot going on this topic. Rhonda, who was kind of, I think, tagged last month to kind of work with folks, and I think specifically kind of with Windstream to cut through some of that. I don't think it's here today. I see this step as kind of, you know, the FCC is going to do what the FCC is going to do, and who knows when they're going to do it, if they're going to do anything. But in the meantime, this gives some people, you know, at least some relief, right, on you know, circuits that have probably been there since the 80s or 90s, and a lot of turnovers happened since then.
And I think also from a long-term perspective, I think hopefully by the end of this year, first of next year, the independent telcos pretty much transport into Arion, and Arion is basically reworking their switch, moving their voice switch in Des Moines, and we need to get to SIP on the wireline. And as far as, you know, my company, Sully, we're wanting to get to a SIP transport on the end of trunking as soon as possible, just to alleviate headaches. But I'm not sure where the billing is going to be. That's going to change billing, I think. Maybe better, maybe worse. I don't know. I'll have to see.
Yeah, and I know
we need to get to that technology. We need, you know, just like the wirelines providing SIP. Or I'm sorry, the wireless.
Yeah, and I know this is probably a little early, but you know, we've been talking about what happens when and if we remove the Lumen selective routers that, I mean, we don't control, we don't own. What happens, you know, what are those new aggregation points become specifically for wireline? So I think all of that is, you know, good conversation to have in the near future. Good conversation. Anything else? Yeah, go.
Hey, you've had any more dealing with Windstream? This is Mark Murphy from Dubuque. Sorry I'm late. I'm working radio today. I've been trying for over a year to get a circuit shut off. Well, they finally shut a circuit off with the wrong one, and it didn't affect us, so I'm pushing to get the other one shut off completely, but I'm still getting the runaround. It's been very much a struggle to get anything done with Windstream.
One of ICN's new management team and I had a call with Windstream. Her previous career was with Windstream, so we were hoping to kind of leverage that relationship. We did have a call with them. I don't feel like we got much further down the road with the conversation. And again, after last month, we were kind of looking at, you know, how can we do this statewide, look at it holistically, so it's not, you know, one PSAP at a time feeling the pain. We're by no means done, or, you know, we're not putting that back on the shelf. But again, that was our first attempt at trying to have that conversation, and I would say it wasn't fruitful.
Yeah, it's just been a struggle. Like I said, the one circuit we've been trying since March of 21, and I noticed on our bill this last month, they shut off there was two circuits, one to Dyersville and one to Dubuque. They shut off the one to Dubuque. It didn't affect us, so it didn't need to be there anyway. And the one to Dyersville, that center's been closed for over 10 years. So it's just been a real struggle. And again, tried to get it to shut the second one off again a couple weeks ago, and there's getting no help from them.
And I don't know, Rhonda gave you a report. I know she's not going to be here, but
No, actually, I was going to mention, she was not able to come today, but she will be giving reports on that and the two committees as well next month.
I'm going to keep moving down my slide. I have a couple other things. So if there's any other comments, you know, we can circle back around to it. I sent out an email late yesterday, kind of good next step for another wireless carrier instituting location-based routing. So T-Mobile did this previously a year and a half ago or so. AT&T, it sounds like, has already rolled it out within the state of Iowa, and that's using the device location as the primary or as the first attempt to deliver that location, both for routing and as well as caller location. So that's kind of the location of the blue dot on your phone when you fire up Maps or Uber. So that's the default now versus the tower face. So that's good news. If for whatever reason that fails or you don't have a smartphone, tower face or whatever, the location technology is kind of the fallback. So that legacy will still be there, but a much more precise location. Again, I don't know that I need anything from anyone on that. Just, you know, it might be worth filing it away. And, you know, if you notice AT&T calls are suddenly much more precise, that's probably the reason why. This kind of ties in with my next slide. No real update programmatic or legislatively. They're kind of at a standstill at this point. But House File 2436 was signed by the governor. That, again, is finalizing and formalizing the simplified expenditure report. So I sent out an email a few weeks ago looking for people who would be interested in helping work on that new form. I got a really good response. So not everyone is going to be able to participate. So I kind of wanted to talk about it here within the council, see if any specific council members wanted to participate, and then I'll probably finalize that work group here in the next day or week, and we'll get to work on that. And again, that's just to convene and refine and revise that form. So no one has to necessarily participate in the council, but I wanted to make that offer before I kind of finalize the work group. You can hit me up offline as well on that. The next bullet, a couple of years ago, the National Governors Association convened interop workshops. The state of Iowa went to Albuquerque at the time and had some really good conversation. It was the SWIC, myself, the 911 program manager, it was Tom Lampy at the time. So this go around of those workshops, it's actually NASNA, the Association of My Peers, hosting that interop workshop, and we are going next week to St. Louis. It'll be Lieutenant Hove and the SWIC from DPS and Allie as the statewide alert coordinator and myself going for that kind of same type of discussion. So I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. Also, I was asked to present at APCO, which is in Anaheim in August. If you remember, I represent NASNA on the Public Safety Advisory Committee for FirstNet. They have a FirstNet panel. I have asked, I conditionally said yes, but I want to talk about our Zetron dual backhaul work that we've done using FirstNet as that backup EZNet connection. So I would like to talk about something that we've done. It's 911 centric. They tentatively said that sounds okay-ish. So I am planning to talk about that and planning to go do that at APCO in August. So just again, wanted to make sure everyone was aware of those activities. Again, nothing really legislatively to talk about. GIS grant information. An additional 4 counties met benchmarks for April, and you can see the totals there. I do want to provide a quick update. It's not exactly finalized yet, but we've penciled in kind of the last week of May to turn up ALI 6.0 and launch the GIS-based MSAG. We have basically all of the critical areas taken care of now within the state. I know, you're looking at 88 counties not meeting the benchmarks. There's some nuance there, but we are all fairly confident we can go live at the end of May. What we're trying to do is make sure we don't schedule that and have to cancel it again. That's why you haven't seen the formal date go out. So again, all we're pointing to the end of May to turn that up and expect a note to go out hopefully next week. You can see we still have a substantial amount in the Public Education and Training Fund. By all means, you have 1 month to submit your training, have it finished by the end of the fiscal year, so there's still some time to do that, but it's really tight. As a reminder, whatever is still available come this time next month, we will probably do an application to print more children's activity books. So expend as much as we can of that. Again, it's still fair game, and if anyone is interested in travel, again, I suppose it would have to be NENA, would be the national NENA for any council members, or any other training that's still on the table. That amount is still available to the end of June. And again, that replenishes itself back up to $100,000 starting in July. I don't know if you want to have any conversations at some point offline, otherwise here about that match that we implemented. Kind of, I don't know if it's COVID or the match that really seems to have affected that spending rate.
I have a feeling it's still COVID, but maybe we'll see.
That wraps up my comments. Is Zetron on to go over shared services?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. This is Lynn Warren with Zetron. May is kicking off the start of a very busy summer for us. We had Chickasaw go live with max call taking and a Zetron PBX last week, I guess that was, April 27th. We've got coming up ahead Howard County and Ida. That should be Ida, should be May 19th, not 29th. So we got Howard and Ida back to back, and then Audubon is going live on May 25th, and Marion on June 8th before we meet again. Next slide. This is what our map is looking like. Lots of yellow and green. Everything is slowly moving over to green. Next slide, please. And as always, we have a regular newsletter coming out. It's sometimes every other month, but we do have a May newsletter coming up. If you're interested in getting on the distribution list, email me at lynn.warren@zetron.com and I will get you added. Any questions? All right, thank you.
And then any other questions for me? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Blake. As mentioned, we do not have any training fund requests. Do we have any technical advisories?
I have one thing, Chair. Yesterday I got a call from, two gentlemen, here in Iowa with FirstNet. I have to dig into this a little further, but, basically they were soliciting extra bandwidth on the FirstNet network, for communication providers, to use their network for their business cell phones and devices. And they said this was a federal program. Basically, communication providers that qualified could use their network and change over their cell phone devices and a few other devices that they talked about that the communication providers use in their company. So I thought that was a little strange, and they did mention your name, Blake. Oh, good. So I knew you'd want to hear that.
Leave that out.
So I don't know if you'd heard anything. Like I said, I haven't dug into this any further, but I don't know if they're looking for another revenue stream or what's going on there.
Chris, is that anything you want or can address?
I can ask questions. We can certainly ask that. Just do you have my email address?
Yes.
Yeah, just shoot me an email summarizing what you said here, and I'll forward that on through the chain, and we'll see what we dig up with this one.
I mean, I don't know if it's a big issue or not, but I just thought it was FirstNet's kind of proprietary, so.
Good to know. Okay, any other technical advisories? Okay, then moving on, I'd like to hear from the Interoperability Governance Board from SWIC, Chris Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Council. We have a standard that is up for approval today during the ISIX board meeting. It is an update to ISIX standard 4.6.0, which was previously entitled System Maintenance Programming and Qualifications. There's going to be some additions to that, including a change to the title. That will also now include mention of the customer enterprise network, which is used for some back-end system management. This standard was updated to account for some newer best practices for cybersecurity management of a network like ISIX and access to that type of network. So we had a chance to speak with some cybersecurity experts recently, and we incorporated some suggestions they gave to us into that standard. Quick update on the information sharing framework project. We had some follow-up meetings with DPS, the Des Moines Metro Area agencies, and Boone County. Those meetings were very productive and informative. That report is still being drafted, so hopefully have something soon to share with that academy. With respect to the ISIX network itself, our public comment period for the encryption documents package closed on the 14th. We're working on comment adjudication now. We have reached out to one county that had some comments that we need some further clarification on, and we're rolling through those and hope to have that done relatively soon. For status board and status board's users, we may encounter some downtime on May 26th. We are going to be deploying the status board updates to the network itself. For the end users, while it may be down for a couple of hours during that upgrade, the new feature sets I think will be worthwhile. They include a visual notification of when a resource is about to expire. That time period is 15 minutes. It includes some back-end improvements with functionality that don't necessarily, have any visual representation, but the biggest thing you'll notice is that you'll now be able to access it with a smartphone. We've updated the application so that it scales properly within a mobile browser, so that if you're a command level staff type person, you can access that remotely from the field, or if you're communications unit personnel that need access to status boards in the field, you'll have another avenue of doing that. So you'll be able to access it from a desktop, laptop, tablet, and now a smartphone. As far as our TIC-P and FOG and eFOG project is going, we had a comment period within the ISIX board for feedback that closed, and that draft was sent back to CIS's contract staff for further work on that. West SDR deployment in Clinton is nearly concluded. Once Clinton is finished with their recovery efforts, which they have one final item to finish, that West SDR will be demobilized, brought in for maintenance, and then staged for future deployments. It is likely that it will be deployed on the RAGBRAI route as well to assist communication control that, so during the RAGBRAI week, that resource may be unavailable. As far as our training and TA requests go, our state-sponsored COML, look for that announcement and sign-up sheet to be released on Friday. Our COMT, that is open for sign-up as well. You can get that through Gift Explorer website. That course will be held the week of June 6th. And most currently, Incident Tactical Dispatcher, that course begins next week in Marshalltown. As far as our communications unit exercise goes, we are still working on some of the logistics, but that is slated for this fall in Preston. And that'll be an opportunity for commie personnel to get the position task force filled out. ISIX applications that were approved last month were Ogden County Sheriff's Office for level 3 access. That was an update to a previous application. Clinton County updated their level of access to level 4 as they built an ISIX site. Guthrie County Electrical Cooperative for level 2 access. Hancock County upgraded their access to level 4 as they'll be adding a site. And Shelby County will be connected in dispatch conference to our system course. They updated for level 3. We have 3 applications that are up for approval today. Those are Davis County Sheriff's Office and Palo Alto County Sheriff's Office, both for level 2, and Monroe County Sheriff's Office for level 1 access for interoperability. As far as FirstNet sites go, one went live last month, southeast of Omaha by Silver City. And then finally, Lieutenant Hope and I will be heading with Blake and Alley to St. Louis. So that's the report, Mr. Chair. Would you like to take any questions?
Okay, thank you, Chris. All right, next up, I'd like to hear an update from U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security. Jim Stromberg, are you on the line?
I am. Good morning. CISA Emergency Communications Division is ramping up for a joint SAFECOM National Council of Statewide Interoperability Coordinators meeting to be held the week of June 6th in Coronado, California. This is the first all-hands meeting of statewide interoperability coordinators since COVID, and it's going to be a terrific opportunity for learning and relationship development. I'm looking forward to seeing the Iowa team at the NASNA Interoperability Workshop in St. Louis in a couple of weeks here. Swick Myers covered the technical assistance very thoroughly. And finally, CISA reminds all emergency communications critical infrastructure owners to keep your cybersecurity shields up. For more information, go to CISA.gov, CISA.gov, and follow the Shields Up link for important information about cybersecurity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, as mentioned before, Rhonda Broadus is not with us today, but she said that she would give us an update on the 34A and Baseline Knowledge Committee's next meeting. And I do not believe we have any legislative issues to discuss further unless somebody has something they want to bring up. Okay, hearing none, do we have any information sharing by council members? Okay, do we have anything that wishes to be shared by people on the line or in this room? Okay. I do not have any unfinished business or new business or travel requests. So, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Here's make the motion. Do I have a second?
Murphy.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.